No one noticed her at first. She stood near the back of the briefing hall, dressed in a plain, slightly worn uniform that didn't reflect rank or reputation. While medals clinked softly on the chests of decorated officers seated in the front rows, she remained still, hands folded behind her back, eyes fixed forward. The room buzzed with low conversations, arrogance, confidence, the kind that comes from people who believed they had already seen everything war could throw at them. None of them knew that within the next few minutes, the name she carried would drag buried memories back to the surface, memories soaked in blood, sacrifice, and miracles that were never officially recorded. Colonel Harris was not a man easily impressed. 30 years in the Marines had carved lines of authority into his face, and his voice alone could silence a battalion. He had been called into this classified joint task briefing with minimal information, only that a special asset had been added at the last minute. He hated surprises, especially ones involving civilians or irregular operators. As he scanned the room, his eyes finally landed on the woman standing in the back. Something about her posture unsettled him, not fear, not submission, control. Quiet, deliberate control. He felt an irritation rise in his chest. "This briefing is restricted to rank 04 and above," Harris said sharply, his voice echoing. "You there? Identify yourself." The room fell silent as all heads turned toward her. Slowly, deliberately, she stepped forward. Her boots made no unnecessary sound. When she stopped, she met the colonel's gaze without hesitation. "Name and call sign," Harris demanded. Now, she paused, not out of doubt, but respect. When she spoke, her voice was steady, calm, and strangely familiar. "My name is Captain Alina Moore," she said. "Call sign, Phantom 7. The effect was immediate. Colonel Harris froze, not metaphorically, physically. His jaw tightened. His eyes widened just enough for those closest to notice. Pen in his hand slipped and clattered loudly against the table. A hush spread through the room, so thick it felt suffocating. Some officers exchanged confused glances. Others leaned forward. But Harris stared at her as if he had just seen a ghost walk out of a battlefield, long buried by classified files in guilty silence. "Impossible," whispered under his breath. Phantom 7 was not just a call sign. It was a legend. A name associated with Operation Nightfall, the mission that officially never happened. 15 years ago, a deep reconnaissance team had been sent behind enemy lines to extract intelligence on a weapons convoy. The mission went catastrophically. Wrong, ambushed, surrounded, cut off, communication lost. Command had marked the team KIA within 48 hours, all except one call sign, the one that never transmitted a mayday, never surrendered, and somehow completed the objective alone. Phantom 7. The room came back into focus for Harris as murmurs started to rise. He slammed his hand on the table. "Briefing adjourned," he snapped. "Everyone out." Now, reluctantly, the officers filed out. Curious glances were thrown back toward Alina, but no one dared question the colonel's order. The hall emptied, leaving only Harris and the woman who had just dragged his past into the present. He stood slowly, his tall frame, rigid eyes, never leaving her. "That call sign was retired," he said quietly. "Its operator was confirmed dead." Alina didn't react. "With respect, sir," she replied, "the report was wrong." Harris exhaled sharply and turned away, gripping the edge of the table. As memories flooded back, he remembered the night he authorized the extraction cancellation, remembered the static-filled screams that cut mid-sentence, remembered the silence that followed. He remembered signing the papers that declared Phantom. 7 KIA papers that haunted him for years. "You were a ghost," he said without turning. "We buried you. You buried a version of me," Alina replied. "The one that trusted command would come back for her." He turned slowly. "Tell me what happened." She hesitated, not because it was hard to speak, but because once spoken, those sounds could never be taken back. Then she began. The ambush had come in the valley just before dawn. Enemy fire from 3 directions. Her team went down one by one. Communications destroyed. Extraction bird never arrived. Over the next 4 days, she carried wounded teammates through mud and ash, hiding by day, moving by night. One by one, they succumbed to wounds, to exposure, to enemy patrols. By day 7, she was alone, hungry, bleeding, running on nothing. But the voices of her squad in her head, urging her to keep going. I completed the mission, she said softly. I retrieved the intel, destroyed the convoy. Then I walked. Walked. Where? Harris asked, his voice barely audible. To the border, Alina replied. 300 miles. I crossed it on day 21. Silence between them. Stretched in, where were you? He asked. I was debriefed. Isolated, told my existence would compromise international treaties. Told my survival was inconvenient. She met his eyes, so they erased me. Harris sank back into his chair, the weight of it crushing him. They told us you never made it, he said. I believed them. I don't blame you, Alina replied. But the man who signed the abort order? That was you. The words landed heavy, but she spoke without accusation, only truth. I live with that every day, Harris said hoarsely. So do I, she answered. A long pause followed. Then Harris straightened, the colonel resurfacing through the guilt. The wire. You hear now? Alina reached into her jacket and placed a file on the table. Because Phantom 7 was never just a survivor. She was a contingency. She opened the file. Inside were satellite images, intercepted communications, movement patterns. There's another nightfall coming. Harris scanned the documents, color draining from his face. This isn't possible, he murmured. It is, she said. In this time, you'll listen. For the first time since she'd entered the room, Harris saw something else behind her. Steady eyes, not anger, not pride, hope. Fragile, scarred hope. I won't lose you again, he said quietly. She gave a faint smile. You don't get to protect me, Colonel, but you can stand beside me. He nodded solemnly as alarms outside the building began to sound, the first warning signs of an unfolding global. Crisis Colonel Harris understood something profound. Phantom 7 was not a ghost from the past. She was the last line of defense, and this time the world would remember her name.